The play-ins took off just last night, right? Lakers win. Big win over the Pelicans. Before I even begin on talking about my opinions after the game, go ahead and give me, what were your thoughts on the Lakers versus the Pelicans?
That was an exciting game. I'm going to be honest. I did not expect Zion Williamson to come out and drop 40 points on that Lakers team, but man, that was a good game, and I'm a little sad about Williamson's injury that happened. I think it would have been a little bit closer, the end result, if he didn't get injured, but he put up a heck of a fight for the Pelicans.
Yeah, the Pelicans were fun, and I knew Zion Williamson was going to come out and put on a show, because simply put, the final regular season game was not spectacular for him. He's to blame for that loss, in my opinion, with his poor stats. Go ahead.
But did you expect him to drop 40?
No, I expected something along like 30 and 12, 30 and 15 maybe. 15 rebounds against Anthony Davis is never an easy ask, but I expected a big game. I expected an energy game, and you could tell the way he was hitting the post moves. It didn't matter if it was LeBron James, Anthony Davis, or Austin Reeves. Everybody was getting bowled out of the way, and it was just like one of those games where you can't say that he learned this big hump. Now that's just who he is every game. But for a one-game experience, that was exactly what you'd want to see out of Zion Williamson. And right now, Zion Williamson going out in the final minutes of the game. CBS and The Athletic both report that this is a hamstring injury. That's got to put some. If you got to think, if he went out with just a few minutes left in the game, was unable to play, are the Pelicans going to be able to get him ready for the Kings game?
I think they're going to do whatever they can to get him ready. It's do or die for them, so they've got to try.
I certainly think so, too. You know what? I was going to say I certainly think so. But this Pelicans team is an interesting one, right? You got Valanciunas, so you got size. It's not like Zion Williamson is your only size, and Zion Williamson isn't exactly a fantastic rebounder either. Then Ingram's working his way back into the lineup, and this trio, if Ingram is in, has played a lot without Zion Williamson. I don't think it's necessarily dead in the water. If we're talking about their next game against the Kings, I feel like I'm going deeper into this than I should, but I think that the Kings are just they're having some injuries as well. And then you get to talk about if they get that A seed, they will be seeing the OKC Thunder. And maybe you get Zion back. That's an interesting thing. So not all negatives there for the Pelicans either. Once again, they have a chance to get into the playoffs with a win versus the Kings, who won against the Warriors last night. Before I get into just my opinions on all of this, and I am going to just go through a bunch of different things, not for just these teams for the game, but for the season. Talk to me about that Golden State loss with the Kings.
Excuse me. Well, that was a tough loss. That was a pretty bad loss. Excuse me. So, Sam Quinn.
I got you there, buddy. Go ahead and clear
Thank
your
you.
throat while I take care of you here. Yeah, no, my opinion of the game, I never really felt like Golden State had a chance. After it was pretty clear there was going to be some players going through some rough shooting nights. Keegan Murray was spectacular last night. I think that's one of those things we're going to start talking about, these X factors for teams. They're not going to be the Foxes of the world, right? Those are the superstars of the team. Not LeBron James. LeBron James is not an X factor. He's going to do what he does every single game. Fox is going to have a game 5-6 games out of the series, and you can just write that down. But these players like Keegan Murray, think about it for the Denver Nuggets. I think of, give me his name.
Denver Nuggets, Michael Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr., yes. I think of these X-factor players where if that player is playing well and your star players are doing their thing, it makes that team so much harder to beat. For the Kings, it has to be Keegan Murray this year. There is no other third option. Malik Monk stepped into that role last year, played it phenomenally. That's why the Kings had the success they did. That's why Mike Brown won Coach of the Year. This year, they have not had that, not with these injuries. It's been a little slower even before the injuries. Well, Keegan Murray has been the one bright spot if you look at that one play-in game against a big-time opponent. I mean, who is to say that the Golden State Warriors weren't going to go in there and shoot poorly? That was a big-time game. Keegan Murray came to play, and I think that's all you really have to ask for. There's still questions surrounding the team, but go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say before, it doesn't have to do directly with the game, but it's Sam Quinn of CBS Sports wrote this, and I love it. It's kind of fitting that the Kings knocked off the Warriors. So the Warriors were 23-7 against the Kings from the 2014 season to the 2022 season, and the Kings never reached the playoffs in that span. But to see the Warriors dynasty last so long, where the Kings weren't very good in 2014. Now they're the ones to knock it off. It was just interesting to see that Warriors longevity, which will probably the dynasty is probably over, but we'll see about that. It's probably a conversation for another day.
Yeah. Now taking a look at just the play, just here are my notes. D'Angelo Russell. I was talking about X factors. The Lakers' X factor is not LeBron James. It's D'Angelo Russell. Has been all year. People have been giving entirely too much hate to D'Angelo Russell's season. He's shot the ball tremendously. The only thing sports pundits are always clamoring about that LeBron doesn't ever have is right here. He is the Lakers' best mid-range shooter, best three-point shooter, and does both off the dribble better than anybody else on the roster. He's simply the X factor for the Lakers. Yet, I got to see a little bit of Gabe Vincent. And really, nobody's gotten to see a whole lot of Gabe Vincent. Am I right? I mean, being injured for almost the entirety of the season, right off the cuff of the season, too, after signing, I believe, a 3-year, $33 million contract. And Gabe Vincent had his moments in last night's games, but the Lakers have run out of time getting him back into a groove. That was clear last night. Likely the first guard off the bench and the replacement for D'Lo in defensive situations. Vincent is one of those more strange cases this year, especially when trying to map out what his assistance to the team looks like in the playoffs. That's the biggest question for me. It's well documented that Jokic has had success offensively against Anthony Davis, regardless of his defense and rebounding. And I don't think I saw a whole lot from AD last night either. Not a lot that I like going into the playoffs. I get it. Did you need it? No. You had a great night. Pelicans are no slouch, especially if Zion's going to play like that. Then Valanciunas at the 5. It's not exactly a game where a true power forward like Anthony Davis is going to excel. But when you're going against Denver in the first round, regardless what round it is, AD needs to score 16+ a night, in my opinion, and against Denver to get a chance. There cannot be a night where he goes 10, 12 points. This just doesn't seem like a winnable solution to me.
Yeah, to even have a chance, kind of like you said, Anthony Davis has to go off. LeBron, D'Angelo Russell, even Gabe Vincent, he's got to find his role, be that glue guy with the team in order for them to have a chance against the Nuggets.
Yeah, and there's something about doing everything for a team, but I just don't know if even if he does, even if he's great, and he is, he's going to do his best against Denver. And we've all known, and I just, detailed it, this is the one matchup where his defense hardly has an impact on the player that it needs to. And so when you're looking at it, there's no way that Anthony Davis can get cooked by Jokic, which happened last year, and not put up 16+ games, 16+ points a night. I get if D'Angelo Russell has a little bit more of a role this year, but there shouldn't be that hard finding 16. With the Golden State loss, you said that we might not get into this right now, but we are going to get into it. That's Chris Paul's last game as a Warrior. Nobody's as sad about that as possibly Klay Thompson's last game, though. I expect him to be re-signed, though. I expect it to be north of $50 million. The reports is that $2 million or 2 years, $48 million was on the table last year.
Him being Klay Thompson, correct? You're not talking about Chris Paul.
Klay Thompson, not
okay.
Chris Paul. Yeah, Klay Thompson should be re-signed, and it's going to be north of $50 million. I see it around 53, 54. They have to now. The Warriors have to now, because there's a little bit of this letting it get to this final moment here. And it's not as if Klay Thompson decides to look somewhere else for a paycheck, I don't see exactly 26.5 on the table for him. But is he going to get 20 somewhere? Possibly. And I think that's kind of what you do is you get him a little bit north of 55, rework it somewhere else, and get yourself below the apron, which is all the talk for the Golden State Warriors after that is the message from the front office to start the year is that they just want to get under that apron. I believe they're paying like $177 million just in taxes this year, which is insane. And that's why the Golden State Warriors are going to be heading back after the play-in and trying to figure out next year, how are we going to lose pieces and gain somehow. That's a tough predicament, but predicaments go on for the Pelicans versus the Kings. That's the matchup next. Now, this is a tough matchup for that 8th seed. You get OKC Thunder. It's technically a good spot to be in right now, right? There's pundits, not good ones, not good takes from pundits. Let me say that, and they're not good takes about the Lakers purposely losing their first play-in game and playing in this play-in game in order to get the 8th seed rather than winning and getting the 7th seed versus Denver. In a strange society where you can go ahead and say that the Lakers will win that game, sure. But there's no promise that the Lakers are going to win this game. The Kings have had their success. I mean, if the Warriors would have won, it's not like that Warriors-Lakers matchup would have been an easy one for the Lakers. It was an absurd topic. So now Lakers facing Denver, and Pelicans and the Kings are the two ones up for the bid. A lot of people think OKC is going to be easy this year. The Kings are 0-5 against the Pelicans this year. Talk to me about what you think that matchup looks like.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. I don't know, like, size-wise, what's going to happen for the Kings. I mean, look, if Zion plays like he played last night, I think the Pelicans are going to have no real troubles handling the Kings. But if not, even if he doesn't play at all, I think there is a chance that the Kings will be able to come out on top. But it's going to be an interesting game.
What's so interesting? This is Zion's year where he played in 70 different games. That's unheard of for Zion. Nobody saw them because he plays in New Orleans, the Pelicans, and you'll never see those games on TV. But Zion, in his last game versus the Kings, put up 31 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals in just 31 minutes.
Wow.
The opportunity to cook, if Zion is healthy and in the lineup, is there. There is an opportunity for Valanciunas to get like a double-double here with 10 and 10 realistically, if that's possible against this Kings team. So you've got to think, having Zion in that lineup in that same attacking mode as he was against the Lakers has to be the Pelicans' idea going into that game. The questions surrounding his availability don't linger just in a playoff game, because when you think about past this play-in game, if they win, let's just go there right now. We'll pencil in the Pelicans as winning this matchup and going to face the OKC Thunder. Well, the OKC Thunder are actually able to be attacked on kind of the forward and the post. They've got the size to attack OKC. So you've got to think, hey, it's got to be, if we can get them back in this lineup, it's gold or it's trouble for the Pelicans moving forward. Real quickly, we are going to give a Eastern Conference play-in preview before going to a quick break. The Hawks are in Chicago to take on the Bulls, and the Philadelphia 76ers welcome the Heat to Philly. The Heat and the 76ers have split their season series this year and are eager to set themselves apart from their regular season records. The 76ers have had to endure a loss to their superstar Joel Embiid for a majority of the season, and the Heat, who have always found their playoff selves, haven't. Or have they, right? I don't know. I really don't know, because they finished just 2 games over 500 in their final 20 games of the season. So go ahead and talk to me about what you see, Jake. I don't want to put any thoughts into your mind before you give us your take.
Yeah, in terms of the Heat versus 76ers, it's going to be a very exciting matchup, because the winner plays the Knicks. So nothing's guaranteed, right? But although the Heat have won 3 of their last 4 games, and it's hard to bet against Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, but guess what? This really isn't the playoffs. So because of that, and you got Joel Embiid, he's coming off that injury. He's playing pretty well since coming back. I am out on the Heat for this game, and I'm taking the 76ers to move on.
It's a tough matchup, and if it wasn't Joel Embiid versus Bam Adebayo, who I think, if you want, other than take Jimmy Butler out of the equation, the next player I know that's going to show up is Bam Adebayo. I think Bam Adebayo is the most consistent player on that team. And tonight he draws the matchup of possibly, when healthy, really the best post defender or second best or third best. I don't really know. There's so many weird things. This year there might be there's the talk for this defensive player of the year stuff. Have you heard any about this? Rudy Gobert is possibly going to win his third.
Oh my gosh.
It's like maybe he's the best, but really I think everybody would take Joel Embiid. So it's just strange. This time of the year things like that get muddled where it's like, okay, he might win that award, but I'm taking Joel Embiid defensively, right? Here it's a good matchup for Embiid. I think that probably serves the 76ers pretty well. For the 9-10 game, a little strange, right? Once again, these teams on the Western Conference, it seems as if these teams might rise up and take down a giant, On the Eastern Conference, it's like, okay, these are the lowered seeds that found their way into the playoffs and are a good first round for such and such. And that's really what this is going to be. You've got the Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks. Jake, hit me with that. Just what are your takes on this game?
All right, so the Bulls have a 2-1 record against the Hawks, and they also have more depth. Like, they have 4 players that's averaging at least 18 points per game, and then they have 4 more averaging 10 or more points per game. But the Hawks have Trae Young. But I honestly don't think that's going to matter too much because, you mentioned the awards. The Bulls have the most likely most improved player of the year, Kobe White. So overall, I'm going with the Bulls to win this one.
Momentum matters a lot to me, especially. I think that's why the Western Conference play-in interests me a lot more than the East, is because it felt like there was a real push, there was a real momentum to get there. I mean, if you look at the Lakers, let's talk about this real quickly here. Look at the Lakers in their last 20; they're 14-6. I'm looking here. I mean, it's crazy. And then I'm going to look at Toronto. I'm sorry, not Toronto. Atlanta. They're all red. Sorry. Atlanta is 8-12 in their last 20. And really, you're like, oh, okay, so was Chicago much better? And they weren't. And they weren't. Neither of these teams are 500 teams. The Chicago Bulls were 9-11. And really, that's how they played in the last 20 games of the season. It's how they played the first 20 games of the season. And neither of them are top-flight teams. I do think that in this matchup, it serves the Bulls really, really well. I think just matchup-wise, player to player. But the Bulls fumble it so much. It was so hard to draw an opinion from this game. I think the Bulls win if they really come out and play to their full potential. But do I trust DeRozan to pull it out if it gets close? I don't think I do. I think I trust the Hawks.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be out of all the playing games, I don't think this one's going to be the prettiest, but it definitely will be a playoff game. So we'll see how it turns out.
All right. And that is time for our break. Thank you so much for listening to Blake and Jake Show on KCOU 88.1. We have playoff predictions right on the other side of this break.